Symir Woods, better known as his stage name Lil Uzi Vert, is a rapper from Philadelphia who gained a lot of recognition after releasing songs like Money Longer and also being a part of the 2016 XXL Freshman list. Now, if you're a fan of Lil Uzi Vert, I'd honestly recommend that you click off this video right now because you will probably get pissed off. That's just fair warning. With that being said, let's talk about Lil Uzi Vert. My name is CDTVProductions and today we are going to be asking the question, is he one of the worst rappers in the game?
Wake up every day, know that I am blessed, yeah, counting on my cake, getting all them checks, yeah, pull up in a ride, I'm just trying to.
As always, we'll start this off by talking about his voice. Now, before we start, I have to say something positive about this guy because this video is going to be so negative that it's unreal. I guess he has a nice smile. His real life Pokemon trainer look is different. His videos are pretty dope, that's all I can think of. Now on the topic of his voice, there is nothing in it that stands out. And what sucks about that is that there could be, and he has the potential to have an interesting voice if he puts some energy into it, but he just doesn't. Also, he seems to be fairly fond of auto-tune on quite a few tracks, and to be honest, I don't think it really works that well with his voice at all, and he should just stick to not using it. It's annoying because his voice could be good, but he doesn't put any effort into his delivery. As a kind of general rule I have, a rapper's ad-libs should never sound more energetic than the actual rapping itself on the track. Unfortunately, that is the case for Uzi. So I'm gonna have to give him a 2 out of 10 here as he has potential, but his voice doesn't stand out in any meaningful way. And in our second segment, we're going to be looking at his lyrics. In terms of lyrics, Lil Uzi is one of the most generic, bland rappers I have ever heard. Of course, it's expected for these rappers to brag about their wealth and all those kind of things, but at least most rappers actually try to throw in some metaphors, similes, or wordplay. With Lil Uzi, there's basically none of that, and he's just blunt and straightforward, saying the most standard things you could ever imagine being in a rap song. An example of this is on the song Team Rocket.
I'm a shit nigga, I got 10 wives. Yeah, I'm just playing, I got one.
It's just blunt and it doesn't even sound witty. On Canadian Goose, I heard a fairly confusing lyric as well.
All these diamonds, ain't nobody cold as us. Literally, I'm cold as fuck, cold as what?
Now, I really don't understand this line. Now, fuck can either be a noun or a verb. As a noun it is not cold, and as a verb, you'd hope that it isn't cold when you fuck. This line makes no sense when he throws the word literally in there. There's also the line in the song You're Lost, which hopefully unintentionally sounds like rape.
Yeah, give her the D, yeah, she fight it, yeah.
In fact, the only kind of variance from other rappers we get in his lyrics is when he's referring to stuff like Pokemon. Overall, it sounds like Lil Uzi's kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel lyrically, but at least he can rhyme well, I guess. And when I say well, that's in quotation marks. He can rhyme averagely. He's not gonna get more than a 2 out of 10 for this, I'm afraid. Now, the third part, we're gonna be looking at his flow. Now, flow nowadays seems to be what a lot of people are into with rappers, which makes it surprising to me that Lil Uzi is so popular. I honestly really do hate to trash every part of his music. I really don't want to do it, and I went into it with an open mind, looked at it all objectively as well as subjectively, but I have to reiterate, this is just my honest opinion, based off of his music and nothing else. I wish I could say he has a good flow so I could compliment something about him. I just would like to have something to compliment, but I can't when he uses those, what I think are referred to as time setter / half bar flows. If you notice, what he'll do is say enough words to fill like 2/3 of a bar maybe, and then say things like a or yeah at the end of each line to just fill space and make the flow sound more connected than it actually is. And that's fine and it can work sometimes, but not when you do it on almost every fucking track. It comes off as lazy and kind of like makes it look like he can't think up any new flows or doesn't want to. As a specific example, his flow on Money Longer, especially on the chorus, sounds like shit and it doesn't fit to the beat well in my opinion. As a half compliment, I can say that when he tries to use his singing elongated flow in the first verse to Rhonda, it honestly kind of sounds better than when he tries to pull off his awkward flow. I think the best his flow sounded was on the very last verse of the song 7 AM.
When I'm lane switching, drop the top cocaine ceiling, backwood propane peeling, say my name in it, now your chain missing. Had a lot of friends and a lot of homies.
If he did more shit like that, he would score so much higher. And again, it shows that he has potential, but he doesn't really tap into it that much at all. If you're fans of Lil Uzi, you're You're honestly gonna hate me by now, and I'm expecting dislikes, but for this he gets a 1 out of 10. Part 4 is Lil Uzi's beat selection. As for beats, I can at least say that he has some decent production, and I can at least pick out a few good examples. The most interesting beat he's used in my opinion is on P's and Q's. Lil Uzi does kind of ruin it in my opinion and makes it sound less interesting than it is, but it was still a nice beat and it was kind of varied. Also on Of Course We Ghetto Flowers, I really wasn't a fan of the song, but it has dope production with really nice synths in the background. Additionally, I feel like Erase Your Social has a great slow beat that sounds like if any other rapper used it, they could make it into a happy, inspirational kind of track. The same could also be said for the beat to Rhonda. He really doesn't have bad production at all, and there's a lot of songs that I like the beats on. I think my favourite though has to be the beat for Banned from TV. It is one of the best beats he's ever used, and it has a very triumphant sound to it. This is the best part of his music, and his producers deserve a lot of merit, so I can definitely say I'll give him a nice 8.5 out of 10 for this one. There you go, that's your positive segment if you're a fan of him. This is what you want to watch. And for our final part, before we rank him, we have my overall enjoyment of his music. So I listened to all 3 of Uzi's most prominent and recent mixtapes, one of which was released in 2015 and the other 2 in 2016. Those were Luv Is Rage, which unfortunately he's releasing a sequel to soon apparently, Lil Uzi Vert vs. the World, and the Perfect Love tape. Now let's start with Luv Is Rage. Now I think this was the best out of his projects that I listened to, but that doesn't mean that I considered it to be good at all. I still kind of had to force myself to get through it, but it has the most listenable tracks in my opinion. I thought Safe House was alright, I liked 7 AM, and Banned from TV is probably the best track I've heard from him so far. I also thought Paradise was actually pretty nice and quite different to his usual stuff. Like I said, it's still not a great mixtape at all, but it definitely had the best songs, I think. Now time for Lil Uzi Vert vs. the World. Unfortunately, I have a much less positive opinion on this one. On this, there are only 2 interesting tracks to me out of the whole thing, and those are Team Rocket and Grab the Wheel. The rest of it was kind of very boring, bland raps with very little in the way of substance. Now I can excuse a lack of substance when the music sounds good and clearly has its place, but I can't see myself listening to this shit when I'm partying, chilling, working, or doing anything really. Also on some tracks he goes very solidly into mumble rap territory. On the track Baby Are You Home, would you even know what he was saying in the hook if the song wasn't called that? Now for the Perfect Love tape. I guess I can say this one had more tracks that I like than Lil Uzi vs. the World, so that's something. Do What I Want was decent despite its repetitive hook, and You're Lost was the closest this album got to being interesting. Erase Your Social also sounds like it could kind of be an interesting track about how invasive social media is, based off of the hook, but he just raps about all the standard rap shit in the verses unfortunately. This also contains what I think is my nightmare collaboration, that being Lil Uzi and Future. Honestly, I finished this mixtape and the only reason I was happy was because it was over. It was an improvement over Lil Uzi vs. the World, and I definitely listened to this over that, but that's like saying I'd rather receive a strong right hook to the face from BJ Penn than Conor McGregor. Either way, it's still gonna suck really fucking badly for me. Overall, I think you could tell that it was hard for me to make it through these projects, and they had very few redeeming moments. This gets a 2.5 out of 10. And now I'll give you my overall verdict, and we are gonna rank Lil Uzi against all the other rappers I've done so far on this series. So as you can tell by what I've said so far, I'm really not a fan at all of Lil Uzi. I went into his music with an open mind, no prejudging, and my god, it was hard to get through for me. If you add up all the scores I have given to Uzi across this video, he scores a grand total of 16 out of 50. I think this numerical rating very much accurately reflects my opinion on Lil Uzi, and that's why he takes the shit-smeared crown as the worst rapper in the game that I have looked at so far in this series. I struggled to make it through his music, and he is much worse than anyone I've looked at so far. With all the other rappers I've looked at, I can at least enjoy their music in some form, but with Uzi, I don't really feel that way. And that is why I've concluded that he is the worst rapper I have looked at. Congratulations, Lil Uzi. Well guys, that is going to be it for my video today. I don't have too much to say at the end here, just that this video I recorded pretty last minute, but I mean it was all scripted like across the course of 2 weeks, so I did put a lot of thought into this one. It's just, it was recorded very quickly because I've been sick the past week with a cold, and I don't know if you can still hear it in my voice, but if you can, that's why it's there. So I just recorded this last minute because today's, I'm feeling a lot better, so yeah guys, that's pretty much all I want to say. I think the Q&A I'm doing will come out at around 10k subscribers, which we are very close to hitting. So I'll drop that video as close to that time as possible. That's pretty much all I want to say, guys. Thank you so much for all the support we have received so far. It's still kind of mind-boggling to me. And yeah, thank you for everything. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll hopefully see you guys all in the next one. And that's all I got to say. This is CDTVProductions, signing out.